fight fans? I am Jason BURGOS for Sherdog.com, and my guest is a prospect on the radar of many talent evaluators throughout the sport of MMA. In 2019, he fought 6 times in his debut year as a professional, competing for LFA. He competed on August 27th, my birthday, for the edition of Dana White Contender Series, where he was also victorious. He was booked to compete for the LFA's vacant middleweight crown at LFA 84 before it was the first of several events postponed by the promotion because of the coronavirus outbreak. And that blue chip prospect is Impa. I'm going to hope to not say it wrong. Impa Kasanganay. Close enough.
Hey, there you go.
All right, I was watching the fight earlier, so if the UFC people messed up, at least it'd be their fault. But thank you for the time.
They did a
today.
good job. You both did a great job. Thank you so much. Man, just want to say thank you for having me on. Sherdog, I've always felt so fun like, following y'all since like being an amateur, and this to be my first Sherdog interview is a huge honor. So thank you so much.
Well, knowing that, the first question, because I've gotten a lot of fighters that straight up stop me and tell me before I even ask a question, is all of your Sherdog information right? Because guys get pissed off when it's not.
Honestly, I haven't even checked. I mean, like for myself, it's funny because I watch like other fighters or just like see like different articles or people like the cues where people are kind of talking back and forth. That's kind of what I looked at. I don't think I've actually ever looked at myself.
Fair enough. Gegard Mousasi has stopped me and a friend writer about the same thing. He's unhappy with his stuff. But anyway.
Really?
So before we get into your career and everything going on, with the pandemic and stuff like that, I want to talk about your background and journey into this sport of MMA, because you've only been in this thing 3 years. That's combining your amateur and pro career together. I was told your parents are from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Were you born there and then immigrated here? Were they immigrated here and then you were born? Were you born there and then immigrated here with them? Like, what's the story? Like, why did they make the change from going there to coming here? And was it as simple as just a way of life thing or quality of life thing, or it was more than that?
So yes, I'm from the Democratic Republic of Congo. I'm the first person in my family born outside of the Congo on both sides. Okay. So in a sense, first generation, but my parents are the first generation to immigrate and move out of the country. I have a lot of family in Europe. Actually, I have family all over the world, China, Australia, just all around the world. So we have a huge family, which is a blessing because you have so much love from so many different directions. My parents, they both came here for education. My dad studied engineering. My mom is a nurse, so she's out there on the front lines right now. So I'm loving her doing that. She's here. We live in Charlotte, North Carolina now. But I was born in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and kind of grew up back home. See, I didn't grow up playing sports or anything. I played football my senior year of high school and had the opportunity to play in college. And then I started fighting at my senior year, which is my first amateur fight 3 years ago. Part of that background, but I always say I wasn't born in Congo, but it was born in me. And my dream is to be an ambassador, to be able to help the people back there and not necessarily only in Congo, but Congo, all over Africa, as many people as I can over the world with this platform I have as a professional athlete and fighter. And so it's kind of just been something I've grown up in. I grew up American, but in a Congolese household. And so it's pretty cool. You get best of both worlds as far as the food, the music, the lessons of life, the different stories. And I would say with fighting, my dad fought a lot when he was a little kid. And my grandpa was a soldier. So back in Congo. And so they were just real tough guys, and I would never step to them. So they're wonderful. But he always told me stories about fighting, and a lot of my fighting comes from my faith. Christian, in African culture, you talk a lot about your ancestors, and I always know way back when my ancestors were warriors and kind of just Bantu warriors, living back in Congo. So it's always been something I feel is in my blood, and I knew. When I was in college, when I was a little kid, really, I used to love watching fights, but my parents banned me from watching them. It's too violent, can't watch it. So I turned the TV down, and I used to watch a lot of Uriah Faber, but I didn't even know his name. I was being a California kid. I was I love that name. So I fell in love with the sport young, and I fell in love with fighting, boxing. The Rumble and Jungle was in my parents' home country, in their hometown in Kinshasa. Ali. So that's something that always attracted me. Man, there has to be something special about it. And the older I got, when I was a senior in college, Mom's if you can pay for it on your own. She told me this when I was 6, because I wanted to box. So if you can pay for it on your own, then you can do it. So my senior year of college, I did, and I wanted to get better at football, but I fell in love with MMA, mixed martial arts, all jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing. Still learning to this day, so pretty much my background.
Now, and you pretty much answered kind of the next question I was going to ask in terms of, was there a fighter that really drew you to the sport, had an influence? You mentioned Uriah. Is there any fighters now that you're in the sport, that you in a way admire and kind of model your own style now as a fighter after?
Yeah, for sure. So two of my teammates, really, because I've had the opportunity to be with them a bunch, or more than two of my teammates now, but two guys, especially in the beginning, Hot Sauce.
Yes,
Scott
that's
Wolfman.
my guy. I like that guy.
Yeah, I love Scott. He's a true professional. Like you spoke to Scott, and knowing Scott, he's just, man, like, I can't explain the way he prepares. That's something I really, really want to model myself after. And then the way he fights too, just a monster, a dog. And then Brian Barberina.
Yes,
he's like definitely a huge mentor to me, and I love the way he's always aggressive, comes forward, and he has a really awesome brand to his fighting. And then there are other fighters too, like, I'm very proud to be African, and to be a fighter. So seeing a lot of African fighters go out there and do their thing gives me a different sense of hope. And there's some guys too, like from my gym, people like, especially my teammates, like Ricky Ramey, he's in the UFC for a couple fights, nice kickboxing, just so many lessons. And then John Salter and Joe Selecki, those guys are some amazing fighters, grapplers, and they've all just kind of shown me about life. And so I've definitely been blessed to be around some awesome guys, and just love the way they fight. One guy I really love to train with one day, if you ever see this, is Charles Oliveira.
Yes.
I love the way he fights.
Yes.
I love the way he fights, man. He's always attacking, always getting after it, and he finds a way to win. How many finishes has he had now? Like maybe 6 in a row. I don't know, but I just love that kind of fighting, really fighting like his life depends on it, which is really cool to me.
From the information I could find on you, you fought once in 2017, then exploded forward with 4 fights in 2018, and then that was just the amateurs. Then, like I mentioned earlier, this year you had 6 fights, LFA Contender Series. It could have been 7 fights from what I saw. A couple of bookings fell through later in the year. Was that sort of schedule always kind of the plan by you and the team? Was it more like circumstances, fights were offered, you took them and stuff like that? And also, how did your body feel after all that work? Because that's a lot of training and then fighting without a lot of resting or recharging.
Well, let's see. So, the 2017 fight was when I was a senior in college, and the coach and friend that I had then, Tommy DiBernardo and Nick Rodriguez, guys, when I first started training, because it was a gym that was right next to my college campus, a Lenore Rod. They told me, it was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks I was training, and they're like, "You want to fight?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll fight." And I really wanted to, since I fought an amateur fight. And then, so funny, I was playing football, so I was 246. I had to cut down to 184.
Whoa!
I did that in a week. It was really bad, yeah. I would never recommend anybody. But, what was it? So that fight happened, and then they said, let's focus on finishing school. So I graduated, and then I came to the gym I am now, Coach Jimmo, here at Jimmo. And he's, like, really like my second dad to me. Like, that guy's amazing. Just Coach Scott, Brian, all the guys, but really just took him under his wing and has been teaching him. And he loves all of us so much. So it's a really great to have a coach like that. And I remember when I first got to the gym, Hugh said, let's take time to develop rather than fight. So it's there in 2017, but I wasn't fighting. I was going to serve my teammates, which really, really helped me out. I got to see so many different looks to study, to imitate and be that partner, the sparring partner for my teammates, because they all fought different kind of people, grapplers, wrestlers, and when I didn't know what to do, especially as far as grappling and wrestling, it's like kind of just go get after it. And then striking-wise, there were so many guys who had so many different skill sets, so that's kind of how my 2017 went. 2018, there was 4 amateur fights. We said, let's go. It's time to get going. So I had my second one. All of them were pretty much like in the Charlotte or greater Charlotte area. And we just kept running through fights. Because, I love to fight. And funny thing is, my body never felt sore after a fight. I've always been able to recover well. The only issue I had was actually before the LFA fight, and that was I had a kidney failure. But I think they said things for me being sick. It wasn't anything to do with the weight because I'm actually, I guess compared to us 185, I'm shorter and smaller, whatever. But I never really had to cut much weight, no more than 7 pounds. So we're just kind of confused as why. But I ended up getting sick really pretty badly twice. So after 2018 ended, I had my pro debut last January, and we were blessed. The Island Fights team down in Destin, Florida, and they had a Panama City fight. They had a fight short notice, and that's how it came up. My teammate went there and he boxed in January, maybe February. Then in March, he came back and they said, "Hey, do you want the short notice fight?" And it was literally like that week. So I ran down, and then they had another fight 2 weeks later, and then this guy's opponent fell through. So they said, "Why don't you take it?" So then that put me 3-0. And then I had the opportunity to go to the MMA Lab, who are some of the best guys out there. Really awesome. Jared Cannonier was getting ready to fight Anderson Silva. And they brought me out there to help him get ready for that fight, which is a huge honor. And right after that, I had my I had a King of the Cage fight, and then I had the LFA fight in the Contender series. I was just like, it's kind of spaced out, but it was thing after thing after thing, and it ended up working out, being a huge blessing. So that's kind of my past 3 years, really.
And talk to me, because you logged a lot of cage time in that time. And yeah, you did get some finishers early and stuff like that, but you won a few fights all the way the distance, and that's a lot of important experience time. Talk to me about where you were, like the specific growth from January before that first fight all the way up to August after the Contender series. Talk to me about the growth and like where you feel specific technical levels you really took leaps forward, and also mentally, because I've been told so many times you have to get in there, fool around with veterans, you have to learn some things that in the cage that you just can't do in training. You have to be in the cage to really take those mental leaps forward. So talk to me about that, from fight 1 to fight 6. How did you grow mentally and physically?
I apologize. I had to move. I was sitting outside and my AC unit went off, so but I don't want it to like distract us. All right, and we have better lighting because I'm dark skinned. So let's see. So.
Well, technically, where do you feel you really took leaps forward in that time?
Let's see. Technically, man, just being able to move in the cage. I think that's one thing I love to do, is move, keep my feet going. And my coach always says, "Feet do the work, hands get the credit." And I feel like my first few fights was kind of like not really stuck in the mud, but I didn't move after my shots. I didn't think about the next thing. It was kind of like, throw this piece combo. Let's see what happens next. Don't think about that they're gonna wrestle, and like, just kind of stand there and fight. And I love to fight, so it was like kind of go, but not predicting their counters or have an idea of what they might do coming at me. So like, that's the thing I think we really grew in, and really the grappling aspect too, because I didn't grow up wrestling or anything like that. So like, sometimes being on the ground is a little weird, but now like I love it, and it's kind of cool to see. But it's like, that's a testimony really to my partners, and I think the in between. I never took a day off. The only time I really took time off was traveling back home. So it's never like a week off or anything like that. So I think that was able to accelerate the learning. Fight 1, fought an awesome guy named Garrett Fosdick. He fights out of Sanford MMA, where I feel like all those guys like Alon Sang, Kamaru Usman, and all those guys there, Luke Vicente, all those guys down there. So he had awesome coaching, and he had awesome grappling too. And he wrestled in college as well. So that to me like made me realize, okay, like we need to like focus hard on this and get after it. So that really helped. And then my second fight, like you said, a lot of these fights were full length fights, all 3 rounds. And so my second fight was with, I forgot his name, but this guy from, so short notice, I feel bad. But we ended up fighting in the Island Fights card, and it became like a clinch battle. And I remember too, it's funny. So like the reason the announcers are like, "You are clinching," and usually like you kind of get there and bang, but he rocked me like in the beginning. I couldn't see. It was like I recovered from the shot. I was like, "Oh, nice shot." I didn't see it. It just got hit me in my eye, so I was like blinking, and then I was like, "Okay, we're clinching now." And I never really clinched like that. But I think from the fight before that, I got used to just holding and grabbing, because all we did was get up, get down, get up, get down, break down the fight. What do we need to do to get better? So that happened. And then the third fight, we're blessed. It went pretty fast. Like the guy kind of just ran across the cage, jumped at me, and then I was on top. And when I picked him up, his shoulder popped out of place after a few shots. So yeah, that happened. So that was cool to take some time. It wasn't a lot of damage on my body. Then I had a few months because I had to go out to Arizona, and that time was crazy because those guys in the MMA Lab are just absolute monsters. Benson Henderson, James Nakashima, and Jared Cannonier were all getting ready for fights, and some other fighters as well. But those are like my main training partners, especially Jared. So that was another opportunity to accelerate my learning. And I think it was really the times between. So, and another guy, David Mashad, fights for PFL.
Yeah.
He's an awesome guy. He's one of the best people I know, and I hate that I didn't mention him earlier. But all these guys, you know, it's like you see so many lessons, and as a young fighter, they you know, people think fighters are jerks, I think, for the most part. But these guys are some of the best people I've known, and they will get after you, get with you, but then they're going to tell you exactly, hey, don't do this, don't do that. Coach Crouch out there, he let me sit in his office and kind of talk to him about what I need to do to improve as a fighter. So it's thing after thing after thing that just, I think, benefited me as a young fighter. And I was every day, and I have so many awesome training partners. And then, let's see, a few months later, Scott came back in the town, and he was getting ready for his fight with in New Jersey. I think the guy, I want to say the guy's from Korea. I'm not too sure, but he fought him.
Yeah.
And that guy's style was just completely different than anything I really had to give like a look for. And Scott was on fire, so that was a lot of fun. Scott was always willing to help me. Then, so that between that time, it was maybe 3 or 4 months where I got to train. And right when Scott got in town, I had a fight coming up, King of the Cage, and that fight was really when I felt like, okay, now we're flowing. I tell my teammates, when I stepped in that cage, it really felt like the ground was super cold. I was walking on a cloud, and I just had so much fun. And I remember smiling in the middle of the cage, like moving around. I'm like, this feels good. And that was like awesome. Because the guy was a pretty decent grappler. So I figured he wouldn't take me down. I lost. That was the only fight that I ever lost was his teammate who was cornering him when I was an amateur. And I was like, oh, let's go. so I remember I was so happy to be in that moment. And then like we dropped him. And then he jumped on his back and like finished the submission, so that was really cool. And then fight after that was LFA with Devorius Tubbs, who coaches the Lima brothers and works with them. So that was really cool experience to see somebody of that level. And that's kind of when I was like, okay, this guy's gonna be the guy like you really want to get after, because in a way he has this pedigree of like fighters that he works with, but also like himself pretty solid kickboxer. And that fight went really well. And then that night I found out about the Contender series, and I was super excited to fight Kalen, who's a knockout, pretty like highlight reel, and finishing all his fights in 11 seconds. So I love that challenge. I love that opportunity. And then Contender series came. I was super happy because I feel like if we finish a fight, lucky finish. You did this, but when you finish a fight unanimously and don't have any damage, that's when you can really like, at times, put your hat on, especially with a guy like that. So it made me super happy to have that fight finish that way.
And that segues perfectly into what I was going to ask next. I was going to ask next about the Contender series. You won. Yeah, you didn't get the contract, but from what I've been told, Dana White was very pleased with you and stuff like that. So after that fight, what did you and your team did you talk to UFC staff in particular, and did they say anything like, okay, look, this is what we want to see you go back and work on these things, and you'll be here very soon?
So I didn't get to talk to anybody particular, but. Shout out to my teammates again, Brian and Hot Sauce, because Brian cornered me then that fight, and my coach did too, and he just said like they're pretty excited about you. They just want to see you have more experience, really. Like it was such a funny night because like it never hurt to win. Like you're like we won. Oh man, they didn't touch it. I remember. Coolest thing was though. I came back home, everybody welcomed me back with open arms. I really felt like I let everybody down almost at that fight. But because, I just, maybe I should have got the finish or whatever. But at the same time, too, like the fight of a guy like Kalen, and then have the result that we did, like I was still happy. So it was like up and down. But from the UFC staff, like Mick Maynard, really, a couple months ago, funny story, I never told anybody this, but I was at a hotel in Albuquerque for the last fights when Scott fought, and I slid like a note under his door. I found his hotel room. And and I was like, man, I just want to fight because Jared Kennedy, he's his torus pectoral, and Darren Till, they're trying to find the fight. I was like, hey, I'll fight him right now. Let's go. Blah, blah, blah. And I just kind of let him know. I said, please give me the opportunity to change my family's life. And he said, hey, man, we're keeping tabs on you. We like what you're doing. We just want you to have more experience training and fighting. Obviously, with the coronavirus and all this stuff like that. But hopefully I'll be back in the Contender series this summer or a short notice fight. But they were just saying, really, it wasn't anything, I think, even with my skill set or what I've been coached, which I think is a testimony, which I know is a testimony to my coach and my team. It was more so they just wanted me to have more time as a fighter to develop, which I'm grateful for because, I'm excited to step in and see, hopefully fight a top 15 guy early, skip the line and get that title.
You were actually set to compete, like I mentioned before, the LFA middleweight title in March, which is, again, super impressive in that being able, you were in the Contender Series in 5 fights. This would have been a title fight in LFA after just 6 fights. That had to be, though, frustrating because it was canceled or postponed because of the whole thing with the coronavirus. To lose out on a fight on many levels, firstly, because of fights falling through, you have not fought since your appearance on the Contender Series, like I mentioned before.
That's the funny part.
But after such a busy year of growth, everything has been really halted with, it's really still not clear when LFA or when a lot of promotions are going to get going again. Talk to me about the setback of losing on so much cage time after you just had a year with a ton of cage time and kind of just sitting out. And also, has it had an effect on your finances, having to pretty much be on hiatus for like 7 months now?
For sure. Sorry, 1 second. No, you're good. It's so funny. It's like a frustrating, but it's also a blessing. It's like, because I remember when I first had, like, so when I was making my pro debut, I said, I want to fight 10 times this year. I want to fight as many times as I possibly can. I was planning to fight 10. That was like my goal. And I wanted to include the UFC in that, but I really wanted to fight 10, 11, 12 times because I felt great. My training partners helped me out so much. Like, they would let me kind of roll right back into it. Actually, fun thing, my fight 2 and 3 and then even through that time in Arizona, my hand was fractured. Oh, wow. So I remember every time I would touch mitts, even to my fourth fight when I fought in King of the Cage and LFA, every time I hit mitts, my hands would just ache so bad. And it was like the Michelin Man, this little kid that Jim made fun of. You can handle for the Michelin Man. It was Houston, who's an awesome kid. He's 11 years old, had his first MMA fight, the kids MMA, and throwing body shots and stuff. But he had an awesome body shot where he finished a guy to the body as a kid. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, financially, yes, definitely affected because, when you fight 6 times back to back to back, like, you can save money. And in the Contender Series, that's like awesome chunk of change, and I was like, okay, cool, we can kind of last for a while. But at the same time, too, it really made me count my blessings. So I don't want to sound like I'm ungrateful because, man, the fight before the LFA fight, I was going to fight in Biloxi, Mississippi on a show called Empire Fighting. And I was really sick before that, and I was kind of pushing through. I felt fine, like, for a little while. Then I just ended up getting really, really sick as I got closer to the fight. And when I got to the hotel, sorry, family's running around the house, quarantine. When I got to the hotel, I just ended up getting really, really sick, and I was like, what is going on? Kidney failure. I made weight. I was ready to weigh in. I went back to the hotel room, laid down, and I was like, I just don't feel good. Wow. And it's something that's never really happened before. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went to the hospital. They said, yeah, you're not going to fight. So that was definitely, plus the medical bills, that was definitely the challenge, being a fighter and not having that insurance, like, as I would in the UFC or something, where it can be, like, taken care of. Then that day will come. So, but then it was really cool because, like, that Monday, I was fine. Like, literally, that Monday I was fine. I was back training. And my teammate, Joe Selecki, is making his UFC debut. So that kind of was, like, behind me. We drove up to D.C. He did well. He beat Matt Wyman. So I was super happy and very encouraged. Then after that, like you said, like, just had all these things changing in my life, like management, I'm in first round, working with Lou and Abraham now specifically, which is really, really cool. So kind of opened up some doors. And then I was going to have the LFA title fight, which is pretty much, actually one fight is going to have WXC got canceled. So it's okay. So we're looking to hopefully fight on that. So I was like always planning. And I usually take time off work because I personal train. So I was like, okay, I'm not training y'all. Don't worry about paying me. It'll be fine. And then literally everything after that, I was just like, oh, fight cancel. So definitely affected financially. Then LFA fight, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. LFA pays better than most, regional shows. LFA is such a professional organization. I do really well on the LFA card. Then I can go to the UFC. Man, I didn't have to go on the Contender Series. I'm thinking this is like 2 months ago. I'm thinking I'm making my UFC debut this weekend at a short notice, like Casey Kenny did when he won his LFA title. And then he fought, I think, Ray Borg or something. But I remember just sitting there like, oh my gosh, God, like, getting tested me. But then I looked back and I remembered in 2018 when I was transferring to my pro debut in 2019. To make my pro debut, everybody's like, fight one time, fight twice, except for my coach and my team. They're like, you keep fighting. But it was it was crazy because I mean, if I listened to everybody else and I didn't believe that I could fight this many times, and I didn't listen to like my family, my team, where would I be now?
Yeah.
You know, like I like my dream. Like for some reason, this Sherdog interview had me so excited because I was like, man, like I've read Sherdog, I've seen their stuff everywhere, and I remember as an amateur just kind of looking up fighters. I'm like, oh, Sherdog, and I didn't like just to be on this to me is a testimony, right? Because if I didn't fight those 6 times, I wouldn't be in the position I am today.
True.
So I was like, tell fighters, be as active as you can be. So it's like I'm kind of winning. I mean, I am winning in a way because I haven't had to do too much now, and I can recover and make up all the time that I had to fight. So from the Contender Series, from my pro debut to the Contender Series, it was 8 months, 6 fights, or 7.5 months, 6 fights, right? From the Contender Series until now, until at least until the March 20th, which would have been the LFA title fight, it would have been 8 months. So instead of me fighting in that amount of time, 6 times like I did for my pro debut, I've been able to train and develop a skill set. So I know I can come back that much better. So it's like, in a way, I've been blessed to win. I've been blessed to train with amazing partners, like help Hot Sauce's last fight. Selecki got to drive down to Wilmington and work with Salter and the guys, and things I couldn't have done when I'm always on the road traveling, and then between sponsors and stuff like that, you're always on something. So that now this coronavirus pandemic and this quarantine time, there's been more time for me to train. Like, I don't know, I'm not really into like anime and all that stuff, but, like, and I think it's super cool. But I don't know the good shows to watch yet. I guess really that's my honest answer. But I remember when as a kid, I used to watch Dragon Ball Z a lot, and I remember there's one episode, even as a kid, it stuck out to me when Goku went to a hyperbolic chamber to get better, and he was locked away for some time. That was like 2 years or something like that. And I kind of took this time and looked at it from that perspective. I said, if I'm locked up and locked away, I can train as much as I need to, work on things, rehab, focus on improving, and when I come back, be that much more dominant, that much more better training partner, a better son, a better young man. So it's been a lot of great time for me to really just kind of be here. So that's kind of how I take it. You know, I mean, of course, financially, yeah, but I think that pales in comparison to what's going to come.
And oddly enough, I did talk to a few weeks back. I talked to the guy that was going to be your opponent in that middleweight title fight, Daniel Madrid, and I asked him a similar question because, without a doubt, losing the fight is frustrating. You know, it's a title fight, it's a main event slot on something that's going to get a lot of broadcast time. It's a payday, like we're talking about, that all those things. But you kind of just mentioned it in a way. Everybody kind of knows you get to the LFA, especially a title fight, a main event, the chance of going to the UFC, it can really catapult you right into the UFC, maybe the next fight.
Yeah,
so just talk about, like, how much of frustration that aspect of it, aside from the payday and the lost fight, how much does it short circuit your 2020 plans, and that fight doesn't happen? I'm sure you envision, boom, get this fight, UFC next fight, those kind of things.
Man, so yeah, I think I looked at it from 2 ways. When that did happen, I was like, dang, like, why did it get so close? And it feels like each time you get close, you're like, why? There goes the air conditioning again. Why do I get this close with the Contender Series? I'm like, okay, you did well. You better get the contract, and then this happens. And then I get close with the LFA title fight. I'm like, man, it's week of like coronavirus. Like, out of all things in the world, like, your weight's good, you're ready to go. I know Daniel's prepared to fight, and like I was ready to go. Claim this victory, have this, and then step into the UFC. Like, that was the plan. But at the same time, man, I'm super grateful for parents who are praying parents. Like, my mom and dad are super encouraged because I know me. Like, as a fighter, I could just go crazy. I'm like, I gotta hit something. I gotta go crazy. What do you mean? I need the experience. Like, all these different things. Like, thinking running through Dana White in my head and all this stuff. But then my mom is like, God knows the plans He has for you. You'll be just fine. The plans to prosper. Do you not think about, like, David in the Bible, and he had to wait to be king. He was anointed to be king. He was called to be king, but he had to wait. And then I said, God will never take away something from you when He doesn't have something so much better for you. 1 second, please. Sorry. I don't want to be rude. Thanks. I had to tell people now.
You didn't have to mute. You could have just yelled, shush!
I just don't want to be rude to them. I was like, oh, they're so sweet. And I felt for them locked in the house, Yeah. But, like, it was just, like, things like that. And then, like, even with this, like, man, I'm never home, really. Like, I'm never, ever, ever, ever home. And I get home really late. I leave early. So to kind of make up all that time to spend time with my family, it's been another victory in itself. And they are the reason I fight. They are the reason they keep me going. Really, they do. Like my sister, my brother, my mom and dad, Melanie, she moved in with us. Like everybody, like they really keep me fighting. So for me, it's been like to take time and look back and see what I really fight for. So I was super excited about the LFA title fight, and I think I was frustrated for maybe like a day, honestly. But then I remember I was like, I have a tribe of my teammates who need me.
Yeah.
So it's like, why I feel sorry for myself. I remember at the Contender series, I was like, well, how many fighters can say, like, in 6 fights that they've had the opportunity to fight in the Contender series? Exactly. How many fighters can say? I remember my teammate Ricky made his UFC debut the year before. It was 2018. I was sitting there at the UFCPI. I had an opportunity to train out there and, like, hang out with him, get ready when he's going to fight. What's the guy from Albuquerque, tall guy, 170, Bird something. Oh, gosh. He just fought on the Albuquerque card, too. Tim Means.
Okay.
Yeah. He's going to fight Tim Means. And I remember I took a video, and I said, I'm an amateur right now. I have one more fight left that's right before my last amateur fight. But I'm going to be in the UFC next year, fight the Contender series or something. And I said about 8 months, give me 8 months. And about that time was like 8 and some change when I got to fight the Contender series. So I always knew, like, and I remember at the amateur, like, one time I went to a fight, and the guy literally 45 minutes before didn't show up for the fight. And I was like, oh, okay. Or he couldn't fight because he had, like, something happened in Virginia. I was like, okay. But I remember those little lessons that I was able to take from, and my parents kind of just reminded me. And so, yes, I wanted to really fight the LFA title fight, and if it gets rescheduled, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
But man, when you get in the hospital for the kidney failure, and I was like, I didn't even get to fight, and it was out of my control.
Yeah.
And then with the Contender series and all that stuff, I said, you know what? These blessings are signs that are greater blessings to come. And I said, hey, if I don't have this LFA title fight, and the one fight I lost as amateur was a title fight, I said, watch, I'm going to have the UFC strap around my waist one day. So remember that. And I said, it's like sometimes God doesn't let you have something now because I think that can limit your vision.
Right.
And that was a lesson I learned when I lost that fight as an amateur. It's like I thought it was like, this is everything. And maybe like I wasn't mature enough to receive that belt, and maybe I was mature enough to receive this one. But I know at the time I have the opportunity to fight for that middleweight title in the UFC, and then I love to go up light heavyweight and heavyweight to fight those belts too. That I've learned enough lessons, and I've had enough training, and I've had partners who just jack me up, and all that stuff, and all those lessons in the gym. That by the time I do get that opportunity to fight for the middleweight title, no matter what, I'm going to be ready to go. And you see like the UFC is doing now. They have like Fight Island, they have the Apex, they have all these different things, these resources to keep it going.
Yeah.
Like I would love for the regional shows to get that. And maybe I can give back one day and have a regional promotion. No matter what, you can host fighters if there was another issue like a pandemic, or be able to pay them off. To me, it became an opportunity to see what would I do in the future to benefit fighters who are in my position. So that's all I look at it as now. And like, man, I feel much better than ever. So super excited.
And now a lot of fans don't realize, especially for fighters on the way up before they get to the UFC belt or these big promotions, a lot of them have to have side jobs to subsidize their fighting. And you just mentioned that you personal train. How has everything with the virus affected you now? I remember you told me before we started that you were doing some training, stuff like that. Have you still been able to make that personal training money? Was it on pause for a little bit for a while? Did you just go to social media like a lot of people are doing Instagram videos and doing it through there? Like, how has the whole pandemic not only affected fighting, but the personal training work, and that's that extra money?
Man, it's definitely affected a lot. Really put it on hold. Yeah. I was blessed because, like, thank God again. Like, right before the pandemic, that's when I had like all my clients repaid. So I was like,
thank goodness.
So like, I was like, yeah, okay, cool. So I really didn't have any much traveling to do. It takes me an hour to get to my gym. So like that was like that cost alone being eliminated in gas was cool. But man, like a couple of my clients, I've had an opportunity to train them online. The beginning of this coronavirus, before you knew how serious it was, I had opportunity to still meet people, kind of like normal, whatever. So but I just knew like the gym was already closed and stuff like and all that. But in a way, I'm definitely grateful for it. But like it seems like even though it's been 6 to 7 weeks without really seeing any clients consistently,
wow.
The gym that I work at is in the county that it's in. they're doing a slow reopening where personal training is the only service we're allowed to offer right now. So that's pretty cool. So hopefully, like, May 1st, I'll be able to do that. But I still want to be careful too because I want to be able to fight, and just have to be like mindful of what clients I take in. So yeah, that definitely affected. Like, yeah, I guess most people really don't know. Like, even some people in the UFC have extra jobs.
Yeah. Yep.
So, uh, then again, like, I'm grateful for my family. Super supportive. They let me stay here rent free. Gonna make sure my mom and dad are retired soon, though. That's gonna be my goal, and they don't have to work anymore. But I think it's one of those cool things. Like, so I always say people, like, for this, like, I've had but with the opportunity or with the challenge of having the personal training end in college, I studied accounting and finance. And when I studied accounting and finance, those are my degrees, and I've had opportunity to have remote jobs as an accountant online. Okay. So it kind of worked out for me. But I would definitely stress for fighters and anybody. Can you hear it?
I can. This is the first time I hear it, but it's not a problem.
Okay, sorry. Is it messing us up at all?
A little bit.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Just make sure. I don't want to mess it up. Sorry, I apologize.
No,
I'll try to get away from everybody. I've been blessed to have that opportunity in that job. So, like, it's great money. Working from home, on my computer, on my phone. Get up off the couch, go train, come back, get back to work. Like, pretty much before I start work, I have my conditioning. I work on some mobility, head movement, everything like that. Take a break. I'm working, eating while I'm working. Then I go teach class like I just did and train myself. So that's another striking session. Work's over. And then by the time work's over, about 30 minutes in, I get to start the grappling session with my other teammate who runs it. So it's like my day's full, but I would just like say to any fighter listening, please, if you have opportunity, have a skill set that can help you with this, especially maybe in healthcare or something, because I'm not saying have a plan B. I'm not really the kind of person to have a plan B in case your plan A fails. But I'm saying have the opportunity that you can, in something you don't know is going to happen, you can help your family and help yourself. So, like, that's been a huge thing. But that apply right away because it wasn't something that was on my mind. Yeah. And I literally got the job within about 48 hours, which is, I think, a huge, really, I'll call it lucky. And a blessing. So not everybody is afforded that opportunity. So that's kind of where I've been right now,
All right, now last question, and you kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. One of the key stories of 2019 going into this year is that continued trend of African MMA growing in notoriety in the sport, with more and more fighters from the continent, or like first generation Americans with family from there, impressing at the highest levels. Also fascinating, I talked with Fernand Lopez, who runs Aries FC, and they're part of pushing European but African MMA as part of their brand, like bringing talent from the continent and stuff like that. How big of a deal is it to be a part of something like this? Something that 3 years ago people would have been like, wait, Nigeria, the Congo, like, what, they have MMA fighters? But I mean, it's not shocking. I watched a Vice story like maybe 4 years ago where they talked about lamb wrestling, which is I blew my mind. It's amazing. I loved it. It's cool. Like, how does it feel to be a part of something like this? This is a movement. This is a legit movement where people are like, damn, there's a lot of talent from there. Why weren't paying attention?
Man, I feel like all of Africa as a whole. I'm not saying like, oh, they didn't hurt, like done wrong. I'm not talking about that. But I'm just saying there have been many things that are looked over. I think I would say not the bottom of the barrel is like as far as like what Africa has to offer. I guess you kind of, when you think about Africa, you might think of warriors, you might think of great athletes, you might think of colorful clothing, but there's so many, and as a whole in every country in the African continent, they have doctors, lawyers, talented, chefs and people who just need opportunity, right? And I think with the growth of the sport, the growth of MMA, the growth of education, the ability to learn online, the ability for the people who have that humanitarian heart to go out there and kind of see people has also benefited fighters. Because like Israel Adesanya's parents were immigrated to New Zealand. Francis Ngannou immigrated to France. Yeah. But the fact is that they say like when there's a saying, and it's probably many African cultures, and I think you probably hear it in many like native cultures too. When we die, our ancestors will fight for us. Our youth will fight for us, and that's something I think a lot of these guys have embodied, and that's something that I choose to do is one day to give back to Congo, give back to other countries, to help build roadways, to help build hospitals and schools, and I love to see that these guys are proud to be where they're from. Because growing up as an African child in the United States, you're not like in some cases, you're not black enough to be African American, you're not African enough to be African. So you kind of get that. But then so like you shy away from what you are, and you see that challenge from you, so you kind of like push away. But what I've seen is the more you see other Africans shining in medicine, like Dr. Dennis Mukwege, who got the Nobel Peace Prize. You see new presidents coming to line. You see people who like the girl who made that song with Childish Gambino, who just took off. She was an African choreographer. You just see like people are proud to do it. And now you see people kind of wanting to learn about their history. And like Bob Marley said, when you know your history, then you know where you're coming from. So then you know what you can look forward to. So when you kind of realize what's inside you, then you know you're meant to do it. And I feel like a lot of the fighters realize like their warrior spirit, as well as mine, comes from our ancestors, comes from what we're being called to do. So to be a part of this moment, to be a part of this movement, to me, it's affirmation that I'm meant to fight. And it's something I'm connected to. So like seeing those guys, and the coolest thing, maybe besides like after my family coming and showing my dad the PI, when I was walking out for the Contender Series fight, and they were like, wait, don't go yet. And I got to look up, and they had this huge wall, and like the projector was on it. And they said, for my interview, they're like, what do you feel like being an African fighter? And I was like, wow. The guys like Adesanya, Usman, Ngannou, and I just kept seeing them. I'm like, wow, like we're connected in a way. And I remember when I went out, the PI, man, I met Francis Ngannou. He happened to be there. And to me, it was like, thank you. Thank you for paving the way, because I pray that one day, I saw they were talking about building a PI out there. And maybe, like, if it's ran correctly, that it can help kids get opportunities to become fighters and help their families. But also, too, so maybe some of those kids just want to go through that. They fight for a little bit, and then go to school, then get education, and they can give back to their homeland. And I feel like that saying where when we die, speaking in terms of like my parents and grandparents and great-grandparents and all my ancestors before me, they said when they die, that the youth will fight for them, that their future ancestors will fight for them. Like that, to me, is definitely embodied in fighters like that. And to be a part of that movement is a major honor. And it's probably my favorite question I think I've ever had in an interview, because it's bigger than, it shows it's bigger than me, bigger than anybody. So bigger than serving myself, at least, and there's nothing like it, because it makes me want to fight more. And it makes me not want to, like, oh, you're from Nigeria, no, like, my thing says, hey, you're my African brother, as well as this is my Hispanic, but this is my Caucasian brother. It makes me realize, like, when you're more connected, that you can help a lot of people. And that's what I love people to see. Because, in MMA, it's like a fight. And some people think fight means division, but I really think it brings people closer together than they perceive it to be. Than they think it would be at first. I don't think it would at first.
And things are heading that way, because now Kamaru Usman's brother, he signed with PFL. With Aries,
did
he? Yeah, I think he was gonna go there, but now with the season, who knows what's gonna happen?
I don't know that. Awesome.
And Aries has Rug, which I forgot what country he's from. I don't know if he's from Senegal or Nigeria, but he's gonna probably be a big star. When they were in Africa, they were gonna do an event in South Africa, but got postponed because of this. So, like you mentioned, the UFC maybe a PI there. So it's clearly it's gonna happen. And one of these major promotions are gonna go there. Would you say then bucket list for the career? And if you don't get this done, you'd be disappointed that at one point you want to fight on a card, if it's the UFC or not. In Africa, on in any of the countries.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna speak it into existence. Yeah. I love for there to be multiple cards against South Africa and Nigeria, but the number one place I love to fight is in Kinshasa, where the Rumble in the Jungle was. That's my parents' hometown. It's their city where they're born, and that's kind of like the story that really got me interested in anything martial arts related. I was like, boxing? What's boxing? My dad's like, you don't know who Muhammad Ali is? He fought in our country. It was called Zaire. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, who? And, like, for the day that happens, like, we should talk again. Yeah. And hopefully that you're there. I'm going to push for it. I'm like, and I take the example from guys like McGregor, guys like Adesanya. Hey, let's have a fight in New Zealand. They're like, what about this? Like, money. When he's champion, then they start doing stuff like that. Like Robert Whitaker. Like, I have to pay my dues, So I feel like in order for that to happen in Kinshasa, I have to make those connections, like whether it's talking to the ambassador in the United States and talking to the president, learning from the guys like McGregor who were able to have fights in Ireland, just think people who've done thing after thing where they had it. But I think with the storyline behind, behind my family, and also knowing that the fight was there, the Rumble in the Jungle, how cool would it be, and like what would it do for the UFC to say we had our fight there too? And this time, it'd be awesome to rebuild the economy rather than like destroy it. Like it would be cool to use the fight to help rebuild the economy. I would take my whole purse and give it back just to make sure that it can, you know, rebuild that. So that's really what keeps me going. So definitely a bucket list. I don't think I would necessarily be disappointed. All I would do is say, hey, UFC, let me work with you guys so I can get the next generation of fighters to do. Because I feel like my responsibility is maybe to bring light to it. And if that doesn't happen, because it's in God's plan. Like, I said, if I got mad about every fight that got canceled, I'd probably be dead. so like, so I look at it like, man, like, I believe it's going to happen. I mean, I even asked for it on the Contender series. I said, hey, let's have a fight in Kinshasa where the Rumble Jungle was. So I feel like it's going to come up one day in the interview. And they're like, let's do it. And maybe whether it's a retirement fight or it's my first title defense, And I would love to go like run with the kids in Congo like Muhammad Ali did. And even if it's inside there, to have it on the continent, because we're all one tribe, one soil, that would mean the world to me. So I believe it'll happen. And if not, if it's not in God's plan, the Lord's will, I would push for it that one day the next generation of fighters can and will. And that's what it mean to me. So